Titled Haiti Earthquake Disaster. Tendai Mwari. We have gathered here today as community of sons and daughters of Africa, as members of the African world community here in the United Kingdom, to play our part in giving international recognition to the massive loss of lives and suffering of our people in the part of the African world community called Haiti, and to restore honor to her name and dignity to her humanity. On a Jimma Day, Tuesday, the 12th of February, 12th of January, 6250, that's 2010, at 4:53 p.m., an earthquake measuring 7 on the Richter scale tore through Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, from its epicenter in Legon, approximately 16 miles west. The earthquake devastated Port-au-Prince, leaving over 250,000 sons and daughters of Africa dead, some 500,000 injured, and an estimated 1 million of the capital's 3 million homeless. That's approximately a third. Massive collateral damage and widespread destruction to infrastructure were also caused, resulting in 250,000 residences and 30,000 commercial buildings severely damaged or completely destroyed. Communication systems, air, land, and sea transport facilities, hospitals, schools, buildings, electrical networks, and water supplies had also been shattered or totally ruined. Many notable landmarks, buildings were also demolished by the earthquake, including the Presidential Palace, the National Assembly buildings, Port-au-Prince Cathedral, and the main jail. Almost the entire Port-au-Prince was reduced to a mass, mal-equipped outdoor mortuary and accident and emergency unit, as the capital's morgues and hospitals were quickly overwhelmed. Consequently, tens of thousands of bodies laid unpreserved in the streets, eventually to be unceremonially buried in mass graves or cremated on the spot. Eyewitness accounts painted a picture of the colossal human suffering. The shocking sight of numerous corpses, some limbless, some lying on the ground, the pools of blood, the overwhelming stench of death in the air, the many injured lying debilitated on the ground or trying to crawl to safety, the desperate cries of the bereaved over their departed loved ones, or the despairing screams for help for trapped relatives, the frantic search for missing families, members, husbands, wives, children, mothers, fathers, grandparents, newborn babies, the moans, the shrieks, the hollering, the groans of the suffering, the dying, the masses buried alive under tons of rubble, of pregnant mothers in shock-induced labor. Amidst the tremendous African human suffering, as with Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, the white supremacist mass media saw fit to report of alleged violence, looting, and thuggery via news reports with film footages that bore no evidence of what was being reported, but served the purpose of diverting public sympathy from suffering African humanity, and reinforce the racist stereotypes of innate African psychopath deviance. African humanity was further denigrated by footage sparing our people no dignity, the like of which was not seen in the reporting of 9/11, the bombing of the USA Twin Towers, dead bodies soaked in blood or bearing entrails, rescue victims in their most vulnerable moment with bits of private parts or near enough exposed, traumatized pregnant women in labor or having just given birth. The same media network failed also to report on the remarkable resilience and courage of the Haitian people to help themselves in the face of one of the worst human catastrophes the world has ever seen. The sheer heroism demonstrated by many Haitians, sacrificing life and limb to rescue fellow Haitians, digging through tons of rubble with their bare hands to rescue family, friends, or complete strangers. The selfless giving and sharing of frugal supplies between neighbors was not considered newsworthy. Equally ignored was the swift, comprehensive response of African nations in the Caribbean and on the African continent to disaster. CARICOM, the 15-nation organization of the Caribbean, who mobilized immediately and comprehensively in support of their sister and fellow CARICOM member island, dispatching doctors, engineers, firemen, army personnel, as well as food, water, medical supplies, and a vast range of material supplies. On the African continent, Azania, South Africa, where exiled President John Bertrand Aristide and his wife presently reside, after being kidnapped and stripped and spirited out of their home country by the USA government and led the way in sending plane loads of vital supplies and a host of medical and other experts to the relief of their suffering brothers and sisters in Haiti. Senegal followed by offering land for the refuge of some of the 1 million displaced, a gesture which inspired the African Union to place this on its agenda as a continental response. In addition, the government, and more importantly, the people of every African nation on the mother continent and the Caribbean have organized financial aid and collections respectively, raising millions in their respective currencies. Furthermore, African communities in the USA, South America and Europe, including right here in Britain, have also mobilized support channeled through African organizations such as Yele, with Wyclef Jean of Fuji at the helm, and the United Haitians in the United Kingdom, also the Haitian Lawyers Leadership Network, headed by Ezili Danto, and many more African organizations. Let it be noted that these organizations have been in place doing ongoing relief work before this disaster, alleviating the abject suffering of Haitians caused not primarily by natural disasters, but by the oppression and exploitation of Haiti, by the global white supremacist power structure, also known as Euro-American imperialism, led by the USA and France, who have been punishing Haiti unrelentingly since it dared to commandeer its independence in 1804, 206 years ago, thus defeating greatest superpowers of the time, France, backed by the USA, Spain, and Britain. The global white supremacist media has bombarded our senses with images and reports of white philanthropy in Haiti, in the form of British, American, Canadian, French, Israel intervention. News of their benevolence and gallantry would bring tears to your eyes until you receive reports from the ground via independent African mediums like Voice of Africa Radio, Galaxy Radio, and well-connected, well-informed Pan-African organizations like the Pan-African Society Community Forum, Haiti First, Haiti Now, the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist Movement, the Mourn Movement, the All-African People's Revolutionary Party, and many more. These reports revealed that food, water, medicine, and urgent medical treatment was not reaching the overwhelming majority of our people. The shocking truth was that the USA had taken control of Haiti's airport and had blocked airplanes with supplies from Africa and the Caribbean from entering. Some European countries were also blocked. It is well known that the first 48 hours of such tragedies are vital in the saving of lives and limbs. If the USA, with its 20,000 troops on the ground, was not primarily concerned with saving lives and limbs, then what was their real hidden agenda? Further reports of fully armed troops in combat gear and in tanks driving through communities and brutalizing Haitian civilians seem evident that its motive was occupation rather than a relief operation, which would be consistent with the USA's historical role in Haiti. Even its partner in crime, France, began questioning USA motives alongside Russia, and CARICOM also began raising concerns. The most favored pretext used for the inability of 20,000 well-armed American troops to get food, water, and medical aid to the victims of the earthquake-shattered Port-au-Prince is alleged local violence and looting. However, when that failed to impress, they claim logistical constraints due to the overwhelming of the airport, the damage to the Haitians' harbor. Yet, there were no constraints in landing 20,000 American troops and hundreds of Euro-American media personnel with their tons and tons of equipment, all of whom were evidently well-fed and watered. Not surprisingly, the death toll rocketed, with most of those saved being rescued by the hands of Haitians themselves or CARICOM personnel who arrived before the American blockade. To exacerbate the excruciating tragedy were reports of the kidnapping and trafficking of Haitian children, some orphans, others despite vigorously protesting that they had parents. According to the Haitian lawyers and activists, Sister Ezili Danto and the 10 American Christian missionaries recently caught smuggling 53 children out of Haiti was the tip of the iceberg. This mass criminal activity, she added, alongside pedophile, rape, and all manner of sadistic institutional abuse of Haiti's children by the European and American priests and UN troops long preceded the recent earthquake. Tendai Mwade. Just to inform you, sisters and brothers, we do have some tapes available on sale. CDs available on sale of one of the Africa Speaks program on Voice of Africa Radio with Sister Azili Danto and Brother Leader Bandaka, where Sister Azili breaks down what has been happening in Haiti. Our brothers and sisters, it's a very, very... Haiti's Prime Minister, Jean-Max Bellarive, attested to the fact that aeroplanes had been intercepted in Haiti with cargoes of body parts. As we gather to lament the tremendous loss and suffering of Mama Africa's sons and daughters in Haiti, let us not lose sight of the political undercurrents. Let us not forget that Haiti has been under constant attack by the global white supremacist power structure, who, because of Haiti's historical legacy, are determined not that Haiti never be a successful nation. It must suffer for its sins for freeing itself from slavery. This is why it has been reduced to the state of the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. For this reason, and because we know that earthquakes can be artificially induced, we must not readily accept that the earthquake that hit Haiti was a natural disaster. We must raise a question as to whether this is in fact geological warfare. The manner in which the USA, Britain, France, Canada, etc. have sought to make political capital out of the Haiti earthquake disaster suggests much. Furthermore, Haiti is a source of tremendous economic potential. In fact, despite its modern reputation as the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, it was reputed to be the pearl of the Antilles, the richest country in the Caribbean. In the 1700s, in more recent times, gold and oil has been found on her soil. Brothers and sisters, let us hail the people of Haiti, whose proud sons and daughters restore honor to her name and dignity to her humanity. Tenda Mwade.